Disaster in Atlanta. The Marlins lose 4 out of 5 to the Braves at the worst time possible.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. I'm a diehard Marlins fan. I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. And Locked On Marlins, thank you for making it for your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts on this Marlins Brave series in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. And joining me on the show is LMF. Welcome back. We have a lot to talk about.
This team, it stinks. It's horrible. It can't win. It's never going to win again. We stink. We're going to lose. Look, we just got our butts kicked by our older brother, and it is what it is. That's where we are.
The LMF has turned into Frank the Tank. The Marlins just got dominated by a Braves team that was 20 games under 500. We're going to talk about the series as a whole, especially the doubleheader, which happened on Saturday. Clayton McCulla, his decision-making, that's going to be addressed. And also Sandy Alcantara, once again, cannot show up when it matters. So let's start, though, with this doubleheader because the Marlins came off of the Edward Cabrera start on Friday night. They evened up the series 1-1. Cabrera was excellent. 11 punch-outs over 8 innings, pitched the gem. Best start of the season for him. And the Marlins drop the doubleheader, both of them. And then they lose Sunday. So this doubleheader, you had to at least split it, right? That's the goal, at least. You got to win one of 2 games. You can't lose both. And the Marlins did exactly that. My initial thoughts from this doubleheader was just horrible decision-making, number one, in terms of the bullpen usage. And we're going to get into that more often. But where was the offense when it mattered? Twice they lost 7-1. That was the first game of the doubleheader. The second game was the Sandy start in which they choked the lead away, and the offense goes cold. They're up, they have the lead, and then they blow it. And that was the story of the game. They were up 4-1 and immediately relinquished that lead. Just a pathetic showing this weekend.
Wasn't that the story of the whole weekend? I mean, we lost. Let's be not Frank the Tank, but let's be real here for a second, right? The Marlins just lost 2 series in one. Because if you take one of the games out from Saturday and you bring it back to April where we split 2, it was a Sandy Alcantara start, that Sunday game, and we were carrying some momentum into that game. Sandy was not bad yet, and we thought we'd win that series, but we lost that series, and then we lost the 4-game series where it's where we lost 1 game to 3, and it's just the way that they played was not the Marlins baseball we've been used to since July 12th. The offense, if you want to go back to the first game Saturday, I should say, the first game Saturday, I think that Profar home run steal of Augustin kind of set the tone of where that game was going. That if that home run had gone through, would have been a totally different game. And then the second game with Sandy, really, when you go up 4 runs, you shouldn't lose the game, and it happened twice to us this series is. But really, Sandy just isn't good for any difference of words. He's just not good anymore. He lets people get on base, and it's like the end of the world. I don't know what it is, but ever since he had his second child, and it could be just that, stuff at home going on that is not expressed on the baseball field.
The main issue I had was you lose 4 out of 5 at the worst time possible. And I know we differ in opinion on this because you are adamant that this team wasn't going to make the playoffs. Even before this series, we've talked about it. But at the time at which this series happened, the Mets are losing. They're in an absolute free fall. They just got swept by the Brewers. The Brewers completed the sweep on Sunday. This is an excellent time for the Marlins to go into Atlanta against a bad Braves team. The Braves are not a good baseball team, and start gaining ground. And they squandered that opportunity. That's what hurts the most, is when the pressure is on. And the pressure was absolutely on after that Houston series. Okay. You have the excitement after you sweep the Yankees. That's all fun and dandy. You lose 2 out of 3 to Houston. And then you have this weekend in which you play 5 games against the same team. I talked about this on the show with Miami TVG. He's an everyday listener. This was a huge series. This is a huge road trip. You could not have this performance happen if you're serious about making a run at the playoffs. And I understand the perception is that the Marlins, they're not a good team. They're not going to be in the playoffs, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. As Marlins fans, when the team is winning, I don't care what the expectations are. I want to see them get in the playoffs. Everybody does. And they absolutely failed miserably at their goal. I mean, it can't happen. It was just a very, very bad performance all around.
They have to make up ground now. They lost ground. They have to make it up. And they did it to themselves. Again, it's very tough to win 3 out of 4. It's very tough to win 3 of 5. But they could have won 3 of 5. They had it. They had 2 games that they just gave away. And we'll get into it later about some decisions that were made by the manager that could have caused them at least one of the wins. But at the end of it, you relied on your starters, and the starters have taken, except for Edward, who was magnificent. I believe it was Friday night. Magnificent on Friday night. Other than Edward, the rest of the starters this series did not, and that includes Gusto. They did not perform up to the quality we've been used to with starters. And it all, and I hate to say this, starts there. Stowers wasn't Stowers, right? He had no home runs this 5 games, right? Gustin had no home runs in the 5 games. If you're relying on Humberto Hernandez or whatever you want to call him, he had a good home run or 2. You had Paulie had a good home run. Troy Johnston brought in some RBIs. Even Dane Myers did okay the last couple games with a double or 2, and Marcy has been disgustingly good. But the bats that you rely on, when they don't perform, you lose games and you score one run. And that happened this weekend a lot when Stowers and Gus didn't perform.
I liked Ryan Gusto's start. I thought he pitched very well, actually. He went 6 innings, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts for Ryan Gusto, which was his Marlins debut. Of course, he started this season for Houston. But let's talk about the decision-making. And I think that was the biggest factor other than, the starters, like you said, not performing. Yuri, Sandy, Cabrera was great, and I liked Gusto. So you take Yuri start, that was bad. You take Sandy start, that was bad. But the other factor was the decision-making, and that's on Clayton McCulla. We're going to talk about him and the disaster he had as a manager right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and I have the Marlins Gameday Hue hat. Gameday Hue makes clean, no-logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every professional and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the golf course, or anywhere in between. The hat pairs perfectly with your usual Marlins gear. It's subtle. It doesn't scream your team, but you're still representing. And it's not just hats. You got the split shade gloves. It's perfect for a golfer in your family to give as a gift, or yourself if you just want to hit the course and still represent the Marlins. And right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Thank you for all the everyday listeners making Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine. I'm here with LMF. We're talking about this tough series that the Marlins just had against the Braves. And we're going to focus on the manager, the skipper, the guy that's leading this team into battle every game. That's Clayton McCulla. He was not good in this 5-game set. I would go as so far as to say that he was terrible against the Braves. And the players are the guys playing the game, and you can't change the roster if you're Clayton McCulla, but you can influence at what point in the game certain players play, who is pitching, lineups. There's a lot of different factors that the manager has influence over. And this series was a terrible job done by him. I want to start by game 1. Okay. So game 1, you have Josh Simpson in the game. Why? Protecting a 1-run lead. Why is Josh Simpson in the game? He was pitching, protecting a lead when he has an ERA pushing 6. Okay. He's a AAA arm. Let's call it how it is. Game 2, Cabrera shoved Edward. You win the game because of Edward Cabrera. Now the doubleheader. This is where this blows my mind. George Soriano comes into a baseball game in 2025. Why is George Soriano pitching when you're down by 2 runs in the 7th inning? It made no sense. Soriano is terrible. McCulla just routinely put bad bullpen arms in pressure situations or in close games, and then the game got away from the Marlins. Okay, because when Soriano pitched, he gave up 4 runs. The game's over. You lose 7-1. Let me know what you think, LMF, about Soriano and Clayton, and what is he doing with the bullpen?
Look, I'll go back to Friday night's game, or Thursday night's game. We won Friday. So Thursday night, you put in a pitcher who's not good, and you have another arm that's available. I understand that this game just played 7 straight already, or 6 straight already since their last day off. Guys are not available for whatever reason, but there were others available on Thursday night, and they should not have put in that pitcher. There was others available. If we go to Friday, we won. Great. Saturday, game 1, once Soriano was put in, who was put on this team and this roster because Bender had a baby. Congrats to him and his family, first off. But Soriano should just be a man on your roster for if you're down by 10 runs and you expect to lose by more. Soriano is not good. There is no reason he should be up, first off, but it is what it is. He's up, and he should be just another arm. He should be like you have to put a position player in to eat innings, not when you're down by 2. Once they put him in, I was sitting next to my roommate, and I said to him and my wife, who's in the other room, I screamed out, Soriano is going to lose this game, and rightfully
That's
so.
what he did.
It happened. And then you go into the Saturday night game. The bullpen did okay. Not great.
No, they didn't.
And then they did
Beozo.
Oh, yeah, that's the Beozo
Gave
game.
up 3
Sorry,
runs.
I'm mixing stuff up. So many games. Beozo wasn't good either. Gave up some runs. And then you go into Sunday, and again, you're making bad decisions. I don't know if it is Clayton. I don't know who puts these game plans or models together, but whoever's doing it needs to be needs to be fired or learn how to put the right names into the computer, because these decisions were horrible, and ultimately it does fall on him. I do want to look. There's a lot of disappointment from this weekend's game in a microcosm of a series. I want to point out he had just brought us back also from 16 games under 500 to 500 just a week ago when we're recording this. So give him a little credit. I agree that he's not a manager of the year candidate anymore. I agree that he has a lot of room for growth, and they're happy with him from a standpoint of he's their robot. We were saying this when they were 16 games under, when you and I were wearing bags over our heads. We were saying McCullough's an issue. It is what it is.
So you said he led them out of this 16 game hole that they were 16 under 500. Was he the reason for their success? Because there's another aspect to it where the team is winning and overperforming in spite of what McCullough is doing in terms of decisions. These were the 4 pitchers that McCullough brought out of the bullpen during the doubleheader. So 2 games. First game, George Soriano, Tyler Zuber. Second game, Valente Beozo and Josh Simpson. Ronnie Enriquez pitched 2/3 of an inning over this entire weekend, the last 5 games. That's unacceptable. There's no world in which Enriquez, your best reliever, arguably, electric stuff, pitches 2/3 of an inning, 14 pitches over 5 games. That's ridiculous. And you go to Sunday's game, you have, going back to the starters, Cal Quantrill had 47 pitches because he got before he got taken out. Now, I heard post-game that the reason Quantrill was taken out so early was because he was under the weather and it was expected to be a short start. That's understandable. You put in Tyler Phillips, who should have been the one pitching on Friday. You throw Tyler Phillips ice cold. He hadn't pitched in 8 days. 8 days. Comes in, gives up a couple of runs. I'm not even going to fault Tyler Phillips for that. The fact that he hadn't pitched since the Yankees series is beyond me. That is an example of a manager who doesn't understand how to operate a bullpen. Okay, and the Marlins don't have an elite pen, but they did keep arms. They didn't trade Fauché. They didn't trade Enriquez. Phillips, the entire month of July, has been nails. He had an ERA under 1 during the month of July. I think he's gotten to a point where you put him in these high leverage situations. I talked about this after Friday's game, where Tyler Phillips is an absolute psycho. He's coming out of the bullpen, hitting himself in the face. He's crazy, and that's the type of reliever that you kind of want on your team. And he doesn't pitch in 8 days. It feels like another manager who everybody complained about, Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly didn't know how to manage the bullpen, and Marlins fans complained about him. And Clayton McCulla, you said, he's leading this team out of the losing ways, and I guess so, but I think you also had Kyle Stowers playing like the National League MVP, Agustin Ramirez, Jacob Marcy's been good, really, really good. I don't think McCullough is going to get the credit for that. I think he's a bad manager. I'm just going to say it.
Well, he wasn't their first choice. He was probably their third choice, or almost fourth, I believe, on their depth chart of who the Craig Mishes of the worlds were pronouncing they were interviewing. Clayton's name didn't come up until the others either accepted a job in Chicago, another one just turned down the job off the bat, and maybe this was their fourth choice. But he's being the robot that Peter Bendix needs. I'll give him credit for the way that he managed the team to come back from 16 games under 500. You and I were on top of him before that run, and I'm going to stay on top of him, saying that everything you've said is correct. There was a lot of misusage of the bullpen this weekend. I'm one for hating the players being swapped in and swapped out in the seventh inning. When even if you're up by a couple runs, that doesn't mean swap out swap. I think the craziest move was moving Marcy out for Hill,
What?
and then Wagaman in for Johnston, and then the Fish on First team puts the argument out that Johnston is less of a defensive guy than Wagaman. Like, come on, man. We could use our eyes. We're not dumb here. That's a horrible move. Old school baseball in me says keep guys on your bench in case you need them to hit a home run in the 10th inning. Don't just make swaps to make swaps. Leave the guys in. Hey, Troy Johnston hasn't played that much. Leave him in the high stress situations. And yeah, he made a blunder at first, or an error, I believe, yesterday or Saturday in one of the two games. I'm not oblivious to that, but you got to leave him out there to get the experience. I'm not taking Marcy out. Look, they waved the white flag when they came into the game on the put that lineup out on Sunday. All right, you have Marcy sitting, you have Gus sitting. These are guys who have led your team to victories just a week prior and really spearheaded the competitiveness that was in, I think, 1.5 of the Astro games. Overall, I just want to, and I know we can't, just move on. Tomorrow's an off day. You know, like, bring the positive energy back a little bit. Put the Braves behind us. We always lose in Atlanta. It just stinks. They stunk. They stunk it up for us. We're just happy they weren't mopped +1 out of that stadium.
The Marcy thing, pinch hitting him over and over, sitting him today, sitting Augustine Ramirez, just DH him. Like, I'm sorry, but DH him. He's one of your best bats. I'd argue he's your second best bat behind Kyle Stowers. There's no reason when your backs are against the wall and you have to win Sunday just to get a game, you know, like salvage something after you got swept in the doubleheader, and they sit him. It's terrible.
It's the Mattingly way. Every Sunday we'd have the crappy
Every
lineup
Sunday.
out.
Every
Sunday under Mattingly, we had the worst lineup every Sunday. You can't do that when you're competing for a playoff spot, which I'll never say we were, but many thought we were. When you're in a race to beat the Mets, and the Mets have lost 3 straight, they've won, I think, 1 of their last 10. Like, we should have caught up to them. And you're right, we did lose ground on ourselves, and it was self-inflicted for the majority. Not taking anything away from Atlanta. I don't care that their record stinks. I'm one to say, yes, you are right. They are a bad team this year, but the players still are very talented, and they always beat up on Miami. Ozuna always beats up on Miami. And it just happened again, unfortunately.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about Sandy's struggles because, once again, in a big situation, he can't come through. And also, take a look ahead. It's an uphill climb now for the Marlins. They did it to themselves with this Atlanta series. That's coming up right after this. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So you can take a flyer on the MVP race. And for me, when I think about NFL MVPs, I think Josh Allen is going to have a very special season. Might be my pick for the MVP. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, but also remember that Locked On Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms. You can listen to it wherever you are. Sandy Alcantara continues to struggle. It's a nightmare season for him, and there was a glimmer of hope right before the trade deadline. He pitched against the Padres, 7 innings, 1 run, threw 5 shutout against the Cardinals, his former team, and immediately after the deadline, everything goes back to being bad. And in a must-win game, yes, they're must-win, You have to win the second game of a doubleheader. 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 homers. It's downright bad for the Marlins ace. Your initial thoughts on that start and what's going on with Sandy?
Sandy's not playing well. That's saying it nicely. I'm not going to curse on your channel. I'm not going to scream mother effers and stuff and this and that on your channel. Sandy's not good. And he wasn't that good in 23. He was okay. I mean, he was up in the top 10. He threw a couple complete games. Whatever Sandy we saw versus the Padres was better Sandy. But the Sandy we saw Saturday night is a macrocosm, not a micro, but a macro of what he's been all season. And I don't understand it because usually when a pitcher of his caliber gets a 4-run lead, you could let down a little bit, take the pressures off, pitch your game, follow the game plan. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was in 22. Was it really the catcher Stallings who really kept him in check? Does he need his own catcher like other star pitchers needed throughout their careers? And maybe he's just not trusting Augustin or Hicks or even Fortes going back. It's sad. I don't enjoy these conversations. I find them very hurtful because we want to cheer for Sandy. We want Sandy to be the best. We want to rely that every 5th day we're going to get a win. But now it's become every 5th day we got to hope for a lot of runs and we got to hope we don't lose. And that's just sad. It's sad.
The pitcher that I have confidence in now is Edward Cabrera. When Cabrera pitches, I think we're going to win. And that to me, if you told me that in 2022, I would have laughed. Just said, what are you talking about? Because Cabrera is pitching like an ace and Sandy Alcantara is pitching like Edward Cabrera used to pitch.
Right.
Sandy Alcantara relies on this curveball lately, and I'm tired of it. He's got to stop throwing it. They're trying to force a square into a round hole. It's not working. Okay. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Against the Braves, he threw the fastball, the 4-seamer, by the way. He doesn't have a very good 4-seamer. 27 times, threw the sinker 8 times, and then threw the curveball 20 times. That was his highest usage of his secondaries. The curveball is the highest, tied with the changeup. First off, why are you throwing the 4-seamer other than the sinker? You're a ground ball pitcher. You need to throw your sinker more. The 4-seam's flat. It has no carry to it. Second of all, stop throwing the curveball. You didn't throw it in your Cy Young season. Why is Daniel Moskos, the pitching coach, trying to incorporate this into his arsenal? It's not working. It's not a good pitch. And this is the second start in a row in which he continues to throw it. He did the same thing against the Astros. I'm watching the game, LMF, and I'm seeing the Astros sit back on the curve and just mash it. He throws the sinker. He's fine. Oh, here comes a curveball. Double, single, homer. It's ridiculous. And that to me is a when we're talking what's wrong with Sandy, that's one of the issues. He keeps throwing a pitch that's not good. Look, the Marlins have an uphill climb now, and their playoff hopes very well might have been dashed in this Brave series. They're now 57-61, 4 games under 500, not where you want to be. You have an off day tomorrow, and then you hit the road again. You fly up to Cleveland. Cleveland's not a bad baseball team by any means. It's cliche, but you have to put this behind you because this could snowball. This road trip was make or break, and you already just lost 4 out of 5 to the Braves. You have to stop the bleeding now against the Guardians team that isn't great, but they're not bad by any means. They're better than the Braves.
It's unfortunate that the Marlins couldn't win on Sunday just to salvage a game, because they still could have been on track if they took 2 out of 3 from both teams in Boston and Cleveland, that they could have came back with 6 wins and 5 losses and at 500. Now they can only lose one more game, and that means they have to sweep either Cleveland or Boston. And the way Boston's playing, it's not going to be them. They kicked our butts in Boston a few years ago. And then Cleveland, I want to go back to 23, where we won 2 of 3 against them in Cleveland then. They're going to have to do the same. Hopefully, somehow bring out the brooms. I'm confident with Sandy not pitching in that series that we're going to get Junk, I believe, is the first. It'll be Junk, and then Yuri, and then Cabrera in the next 3 games, where we can win that series. Maybe if Stowers wakes up, hits some home runs at Jacobs Field or whatever the hell they call it now. It'll always be the Jake to me and us old people who watch the Marlins win the 97 World Series there. But it would be nice to see a series victory. You got to play it by series, and then you come home and you take care of 2 bird teams. But let's get through this week, and if we could come back 5-6 at this point, that's a win.
Yeah, I mean, and they can't get much worse than this past week, right? You lose the series to Houston and then the disaster in Atlanta. So Cleveland, they've got a few good pitchers coming the Marlins' way. You have Logan Allen versus Jansen Junk on Tuesday. The one I have circled is Gavin Williams versus Yuri Perez. Yuri's coming off of a start, which he wasn't very good. Gave up 3 homers. That can't happen again. You know, Gavin Williams is coming off of a start in which he was 2 outs away from a no-hitter against the New York Mets. So he's pitching very, very well. The offense for the Marlins has to be better. They did score runs in this Braves series a couple of times, but what happened with the lineup is they go cold. They don't leave their foot on the gas. That can't happen this week. You have to continue hitting, and the pinch hitting as we wrap this up here. You mentioned this earlier. Last thing I'll say about Clayton and the pinch hitting, I don't want to see Eric Wagaman pinch hit for anybody. I don't want Eric Wagaman in the lineup, and they continue to play him. He is the worst first baseman by OPS. He has a 624 OPS. I'm going to leave you guys with this stat. Luis Arias, slugger, known for his plate discipline and ability to draw walks and smash home runs, right? 730 OPS. It's over 100 points better than your everyday first baseman and Eric Wagaman. It's ridiculous.
You said it. He's not playing well. I'll stop with he's shutting up fans with the triple and a home run. He's just horrible right now, and he's going through it. Dane looks like he's pulled himself a little bit, at least with a double on Sunday. That's finally good, but he's gone cold. And our buddy Troy, he needs to step it up too, man. I'm still waiting for his first major league home run. That he needs to show more power. So if 2 of those 3 guys can produce with the Hernandez, with Marcy, and if Stowers and Augustin hit some home runs in Cleveland, we should be able to win that series. And I'm going to still cheer for them, and I'm going to root for them, win or lose, as most of us, like I know you will, should. It stinks what we just went through this week. It kind of brings us back down to earth, but I'd like to rise above it and hopefully have a better week coming up.
I'm going to get you a first base glove and have you play instead of Wagaman, LMF. You can't get any worse.
Can't get much worse. I got no heights. I can't jump, but I'm still a little fast, right? Can't hit, though. Definitely.
That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. For LMF and for myself, Jeremiah, we're out of here. Stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.